All right, so now we're starting up on the backside of 3.3, right? 3.3, yeah. So all the odd numbers, that's what we're going to be doing. So we need to do a lot of we need to find the common denominator for a bunch of these problems. Luckily, it's not terribly difficult to do that. If we just follow the same algorithm that we've established. So to find the common denominator, we take this fraction and multiply by this one's denominator. So we multiply by 6 in the top and the bottom. And then to find this one's common denominator, we multiply by this one's denominator. So 4y to the third in the top and the bottom. So in the top, 6 times 6x is going to give me 36x. And then in the bottom, 6 times 4 is 24, so that becomes 24y to the third. Let me get rid of that. There we go. All right, and then plus. And then 5 times 4 is 20, so 20. And then y times y to the third is y to the fourth. And then in the bottom, 6 times 4 is 24. And then we have y to the third. Okay, so now that we have the same denominator, we just add across the top. So we have 36x plus 20y to the fourth. And then it's all over 24y to the third power. All right, let's see if we can divide out anything from everything. So I know that 36, 20, and 24 are all divisible by 4. So I'm going to divide everything by 4. 36 divided by 4 is 9, so I have 9x. 20 divided by 4 is 5, so plus 5y to the fourth. And then 24 divided by 4 is 6, so 6y to the third. Notice that not all of these have y's and not all of them have x's, so I can't divide any of the variables out, so that's as good as it gets for this one. Okay. Common denominators, so we multiply the top and the bottom for this fraction by 3y to the third, and this one by 3y to the third, and then top and the bottom on this one by 3x to the third. Okay, here we go. So when we have this addition here, that means that this 3y to the third needs to distribute into both parts. So I get, let's see here, 3y to the third times x is 3y to the third times x. 3y to the third times 6y, 3 times 6 is 18, so plus 18. And then y times y to the third is y to the fourth. And since I'm going to get the common denominator, I'm just going to put it all under one fraction because that's what's going to happen anyways. So plus, and then 3x to the third times 6x, 3 times 6 is 18. And then x times x to the third is x to the fourth. Multiplying across the top, 3 times 3 is 9. Y to the third times x to the third is just y to the third, x to the third, or x to the third, y to the third, same thing. Okay, there are no common variables because I don't have a y to the third x for any of these, and I don't have a y to the third or a y to the fourth or an x to the fourth, so I just kind of leave it as is. Now let's just try and simplify this as much as possible though. So I look at the coefficients first, 3, 18, 18, and 9. Those are all divisible by 3, so I divide out a 3 from all of those, and I get y to the third plus 6y to the fourth. Oh, I'm sorry, it's y to the third x. I dropped off an x for some reason there. And then if I take that 18 divided by 3, I get 6x to the fourth. Then divide 9 by 3, and I get 3, so 3x to the third, y to the third. Now let's see if I can divide out any variables. So let's see here. I have a y, but no y there, so much for the y's. And then obviously I don't have an x here, so I can't get rid of the x's. So this is as simplified as the expression gets. All right, next up we have binomials in the denominator, so we do the same thing. We take this fraction and multiply by this one's denominator, so k minus 1 in the top and k minus 1 in the bottom. And then for this one, we multiply by this one's denominator, which is 5k plus 3 in the top and also in the bottom. All right. Now, here's something that you're going to want to do, okay, like for all of these next problems. When you have these two factored expressions multiplied, I know that you want to do this because you've been trained to do this for a while in algebra, but you don't want to FOIL this out or distribute. Leave it in factored form because think about what we used to do with when we would simplify factored expressions like in 3.2, right? We would take the factored expressions, and if the top and the bottom have the same factors, we cancel them out. Well, we want that to happen, you know? So like we want to leave this in factored form so we can see if any factors cancel out. They might not, you know, but you know, it's just easier to leave it in factored form to see if they actually do. Anyways, so I'm going to take this k minus 1 and I'm going to distribute the 6 into both of these parts. So k times 6 is 6k. Negative 1 times 6 is negative 6. And again, they're going to have the same denominator, so I'm just going to put it over one fraction. So k minus 1, 5k plus 3, same thing each time. And then now they're adding, so plus, and then it's going to be 6 times 5 and 6 times 3. 6 times 5 is 30, so 30k. 6 times 3 is 18, so plus 18. All right, now let's go ahead and combine like terms. 6k plus 30k is 36k. And then negative 6 and 18 is 12. All right, let's see if anything will cancel out. Hopefully it will, but if it doesn't, you know, big deal. We just need to factor it anyways. So 36k and 12 are both divisible by 6. No, 12. Okay, so if I divide out a 12 from both of those, I get 12. And then, let's see, 36 divided by 12 is 3, so 3k. And then 12 divided by 12 is 1, so plus 1. So it doesn't look like that factor is going to cancel out with any of this stuff. So, you know, we did our work, we factored it out, but, you know, it doesn't factor. So that's as simplified as it gets. Now let's go ahead and do these last three. So same steps, you know, find the common denominator, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so we multiply this fraction by n plus 5 in the top and the bottom. We multiply this one by 3n plus 2 in the top and the bottom. All right, so the denominator is going to be the same. It's going to be n plus 5 and then 3n plus 2. Now let's see what's going on in the numerator. So the 6n distributes into both of these. 6n times n is 6n squared. 6n times 5 is 30n. And then this distributes into both of these parts. So 3n times 3n is 9n squared. 3n times 2 is 6n. All right, now let's combine like terms. 6n squared plus 9n squared is 15n squared. 30n plus 6n is 36n. And then let's go ahead and try and factor the top so then we can see if anything cancels with the bottom. So I know that like 15 and 36, those are both divisible by 3. And that's as big as it gets. And then I have n squared and n, which both divide out in n. So 3n is as big as I can factor out. So if I factor out 3n from here, I get 5n. And then if I factor out a 3n here, I have plus 12. So yeah, it doesn't look like that's going to divide out in the bottom at all. So, you know, that's just kind of how it goes. Again, we factored it, and this 15 plus 12 does 5n plus 12 doesn't cancel out with anything in the denominator, so we just leave it as is. That's as far as we can get. All right, last two, 21 and 23. So again, just do the same pattern. Multiply this one by the other one's denominator, n minus 5 and n minus 5, n plus 1 and n plus 1. All right, so the denominator is going to be n minus 5 times n plus 1. And then let's see what happens when we distribute in the 6 there. 6 times n is 6n. 6 times negative 5 is negative 30. Distribute in the 4 here, and we're adding, so plus. 4 times n is 4n. 4 times 1 is 4. Combine like terms. 6n plus 4n is 10n. 30 minus, negative 30 plus 4 is a negative 26. Yeah, it doesn't look like that one's going to really help when we factor, but, you know, it's factored anyways just to kind of verify it. So 10 and 26 are both divisible by 2, so if we take out a 2, then this becomes 5n minus 13 on the top, and then in the bottom it's n minus 5 and n plus 1. Yeah, it doesn't look like the 5n minus 13 is going to cancel with anything, so just leave that as is. That's just your simplified expression. All right, one last one. Now we have subtraction, so that's like, is that the only subtraction problem we have on here? No, we had some subtraction, I guess, early on, but this is the first one in a while, so let's not forget what we need to do with the subtraction. And that's like basically change the sign or distribute the negative for everything, you know, that's going to happen over here. So let's not forget that fact when we work through the problem. So we multiply this fraction by this one's denominator, k minus 5 over k minus 5. We multiply by this one's denominator, so k minus 3, k minus 3. All right, so distribute the 5k into both the k and the 5. Distribute the 5k into the k and the minus 3. And let's see what we get. Okay, so in the denominator, we have k minus 5 and k minus 3. And then let's see here. So 5k times k is 5k to the second power. 5k times negative 5 is negative 25k. Now we're subtracting this. So one thing that you can do to make this easier on yourself is just say plus, and then it's going to be a negative 5k that's distributing in. Because it's the same thing as distributing in a negative from the subtraction symbol, but we're just kind of taking care of it early. So negative 5k times k is a negative 5k squared. Negative 5k times negative 3, a negative times a negative is a positive, so plus, and then it's just going to be a 15k. Now let's combine like terms. Looks like the 5k squared and the negative 5k squared will cancel out because they add up to 0. And then negative 25 plus 15 is going to be negative 10. So we have negative 10k over k minus 5 and then k minus 3. And this is already factored, so since nothing cancels out, this is our simplified expression. And these are the toughest problems that you're going to see, and you notice that it's just the same pattern over and over and over again for like, every one of these problems. So just stick with that pattern. Just keep practicing these problems, and they can be pretty easy. I know it looks like a lot of work because it's combining, factoring and division and dividing fractions, like all the stuff that you guys don't like. But, again, it's just a process. It's step by step, the same thing every time. So just keep working at it. And if you need help, don't forget to reach out for some help from your teachers. That's it. All right, now let's move on to the quiz review.